my channel. It's Dr. Dave. Back on the pre-med journey. So this time I'm going to talk about MCAT and the MCAT preparation, everything involved around that, and the kind of mindset and the approach you should take to really ensure complete success in MCAT. There are a lot of prep courses. There's a lot of people talking about MCAT success that will guarantee XYZ results. And some of them are really good and actually may be beneficial for you. But before you go there, I think there's a few things you really need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself, okay? One is like, you really need to be like positive that you really want to go on this med school journey. And if you don't know, then refer to my earlier video and try out a few things within the medical field, like shadowing a few physicians, volunteering, etc., or research to see if that's something you really want to commit a whole thing to. Because I've noticed the people who don't do well are also people who are not fully committed to the process or the journey, right? So first step is to like determine what level of commitment you're at. And it's like, be honest with yourself. If you're not at a full level of commitment, that's okay. I had a friend who was like, honestly, yeah, I do want to study for the MCAT, but I don't know, I may want to do a master's. And so he ended up delaying it for the year after because he ended up doing a fifth year to improve his GPA. And during that time, he actually realized he likes research a lot. And then he went into the research aspect of things as opposed to applying to med school. Saved money, saved time, and like all this effort and stress of writing an exam. So really get clear on what your commitment is. If you're really committed for it, great. Number two, I think this is the mindset piece that I think a lot of students are missing, is like, what do you believe yourself capable of doing? Like, do you think you'll get like top 10, top 5, top 1 percentile? I was grateful I got like 99th percentile on the MCAT. But you know, throughout all of that, I knew I was going to crush it, if that makes sense. I think before you see and start on this journey, like, you got to have some self-belief that you're going to crush it. And sometimes it's like delusional, and that's fine. Like, you just have to really believe that you can do it. And I think that is a fundamental process, because so many people come up to me and ask me, like, hey, like, how many hours did you study? Like, what prep course did you take? Yes, like, these are good details, important details. But I think fundamentally what a lot of these kids, I see them struggling with, is like the self-belief aspect. They think that like a course or, you know, the right studying trajectory or the right timeline of studying, like, you know, if I study 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, get 8 hours of sleep, then I'll be able to, like, you know, get a good mark. Like, those things are important, but they are secondary, and the primary thing that's important is whether you believe that you're going to be able to crush it or not. And if you're not able to, like, if you don't think that, you're not confident, then make a comment, and I'll make a video on how to kind of get past some of these barriers and really start to believe in yourself. It starts with like little things, like if you can, you know, have integrity and trust yourself to wake up, make your bed, you know, I've gone this far in life, then, you know, you can extend that belief, self-belief, to writing the exam and things forward. Because I think the self-belief thing not only like pertains to MCAT, but like the whole medical field and your journey, because things get tough. Like, it's not an easy journey. Like, it's not just like, you know, like, it's not like you write this exam and then everything's just going to be like flowers and roses. Like, it's, you're going to have ups and downs. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have tough moments. And so the commitment's important in that stage too, because if you're not committed, you're going to quit. And then two is like your self-belief and perseverance, and like how, you know, how motivated you are by like your inner belief that you're going to make it. Okay. So I think those two things I want to get out of the way before I talk about details on how to prep for the MCAT. So now, how do you actually prep for the MCAT? I would say, and this is what I've told my younger brother too, you know, it's like, think about it like this. You want to, like, you can get whatever you want in life, but you'll have to sacrifice something for it. And so if you really want like 100 percentile, 99 percentile marks in your MCAT, there is something you'll have to sacrifice for. And what I sacrificed was 3 months of like socializing. 3 months, I did nothing. Like, I did not go out. I like flopped on all my friends. I was seeing someone at the time. I was like, I'm not seeing you, I'm sorry. Like, I just went full like radio silent. I was working a full-time job at a research lab because, again, I wanted to continue the research projects that I was already doing. This was before my 4th years, and I wrote my MCAT end of 3rd year before 4th year, because you want to apply to med school essentially beginning of 4th year, so that you get in, ideally at the end of 4th year, you get in for the following September. So I was in preparation for research for an honors project with the same lab. So I wanted to do research that summer. Also, I got like a research funding scholarship, so I was getting paid for it. So I was doing that full time, like 40 hours. I was bustling like an hour and a half from, you know, the suburbs to the hospital, doing like 8 to 10 hours of research and then busing back. And so I did that for about 3 months, and I gave myself 3 months to study for the exam. So I would say 2 or 3 months minimum. Like, you got to give yourself dedicated time to study for an exam this big. You could work full time. For me, I found I kind of liked it, because if I had a lot of free time every day, I find it's hard for me sometimes to push myself. But if my schedule's packed, like, I know, okay, this is my 1 hour to do this, this is my 2 hours to do this. I would nap on the bus, or like I would like have audio books that I would listen to that would help me like study. And then even if I was sleeping, like I would have like some science things like going into my ear. I feel like subconsciously I'd like be remembering things. I'm not recommending that, but that's just something I did to like make use of the time of commuting. Other than that, I would recommend a prep course if you are struggling in certain aspects. So I did biochemistry, so physics, bio, and chem like were my strong areas, I would say, and I essentially got perfect in all of those like MCAT sections. But the verbal reasoning, and back then when I wrote it, we had like essay writing too, so we had to write an essay like on the spot. So those two things I felt I needed help with, so this is why I did pay for a prep course. I did Prep 101. Back then it was quite big, and it was like a couple $1,000s, and it was 2 classes in the evenings during the weekday, and then additional sessions if needed, as well as prep courses and practice exams. So I would do like, I'd go to the lab in the morning, wake up at 6, bus an hour, go to the lab, work all day, and then in 2 days of that week, I would go to the campus, go to the class for about 3 hours, and so it'd be like 11 p.m. By the time I bus home, it'd be like midnight, and I'd do the same thing again at 6 a.m. So they were like busy weekdays, and so I wouldn't get too much time to study on the weekdays. So then what I did was, weekends were my study days, and the weekend I would just wake up 10, 12 hours straight of studying. Like, my mom would like bring food to my room. I'd see them watching a movie or going out. I would like really, it's tough, but I would really focus myself that like I need to do this, and this is what I need to do to get this. And I created like a whole study map of like what I needed to cover by what week, and when to start taking the practice exams, because that's very crucial. So I would say you do need a lot of dedicated time. I would not recommend working full time if you can't handle that. Like, that was very difficult. I don't know if I would do that again if I had a chance. I would probably just focus more on studying, like 2 months dedicated study. Create a study template of like, okay, what are the things I need to cover? If you're weak at certain things, you may want to cover 3 times or 4 times as opposed to just once or twice. So you want to read through the textbooks. You want to go through like the content at least 2 or 3 times. Like, pencil that in and like actually put the blocks and times in and do that. Like, do that planning, because that's going to help you maintain your progress. And then I would recommend last 2 to 3 weeks before the exam, take time off from whatever you're doing and just do practice exams. Because at the end of the day, the exam is like 8 hours long, and it's a test of knowledge as much as it's a test of stamina and like perseverance. Like, being able to think critically and sharply on hours 6, 7, 8 is not the same as thinking like intensively at hours 1, 2, and 3. So typically you'll experience fatigue, tired, sitting in the same room, sitting in the same chair. So just practice that. You know what I practice? Just sitting in the same spot, like practice that for 8 hours. Now just like get my body used to that, get my brain used to that. So I did that for 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the exam. And I took 2 or 3 days before the exam off to like give myself a break, because you don't want to burn out. And so I thought I peaked at that, do the practice exams. I would highly, highly recommend. I think the best thing you could do is do these practice exams. AAMC has some online. Your prep courses will have some. I have some. If you guys need some, let me know. But practice. That's the best thing I could recommend for you. The more you practice, the better you'll be for the exam. And then practice not only the questions, but also like how you're sitting. Like I practice actually like sitting down, like properly, like getting ready, how I imagine the exam is going to be with like the mouse and everything, like pure silence, earphones, and I like just wrote an exam for 8 hours. So I was like preparing my mind and my body to like be at that peak state when I was writing the exam. And so that's what I would recommend is like, if you're, going to commit to this exam, like you want to just do everything possible to maximize your chance of success. And this is what I did. So make a plan, commit yourself to the plan, and then practice until you feel very confident and you're ready to crush the exam. So I would say those are probably my biggest pointers, like overall general advice. If you have specific questions, feel free to make a comment or reach out to me personally. I'm happy to chat. I have some resources I'm happy to share as well if you're really interested. But otherwise, good luck on your journey, and enjoy it. And I think as you actually immerse yourself in the learning and the studying process, the writing the exam part becomes less of like a test and it becomes more of like a challenge. You're like, huh, cool, I want to see like how I do on this, you know? And so that's the kind of mindset I took for it. Like the verbal reasoning, for example, is like very tricky, and I found that very difficult. And so every time I come across a passage, I would be like, oh, hey, like, you know, what are they actually trying to say? Like, I was just genuinely just trying to understand what the passage is saying, as opposed to just trying to figure out the answers. And so there's a lot of other tricks and things I can go into. Like some people say, you know, read the questions first, like very quickly, so then you know what to get from the stem. That works for some people, doesn't work for other people. But I can go into a lot of things. To be honest, I don't want to belabor the point, but make some comments if you have any questions about it, and I'm happy to answer more. Thanks, and make sure to follow for more med content.